Okay, here's the code. Let's say I want to say print hello, and want to do this process, let's say 10 times, or just number of times. And if you run it, you get the result. Of course, you will get a number of hellos, right? No problem. However, if if what you want to do is not just a simple hello, but you want to also do, like, for example, a equals 5 plus 7 and b equals 3 plus a, and then print b or something like that. If you have like 4 lines of code, if you have 4 lines of code and if you need to run it 5 times, it becomes like this long. It really doesn't make sense. This is not really efficient way of doing the coding, doing a coding, because basically they are all the same. That's when you need to make this as function. So how to make a function? It's pretty simple. First, define the name of the function. I'm going to define the name as hello, and then parentheses and colon, and go down and write what you want to say, what you actually want to do here. But in this case, I want to just print hello. That's all I need. And if we run it, nothing happens. That's what we call defining a function. We want to call the function, means we want to run this function. Then we call it. The process is, when we call or when we run this line, this one single line, it actually called a function and then printed hello on your display. This is how this function works. So we say define a function using the def keyword always. This must be def always. You can't change it. Def and one space and whatever the function name you want, and then parentheses. Even if it's blank, you must have a parenthesis here. And then you can call a function by using its name, as I just did it. In this case, it's say hello. Using the say hello, you call the function, and this function call the inside of the function. So basically, the reason why we use it is just, I just explained to you, reduce the repetition. That's the most important one, most important thing, reduce the repetition. And second, it's much easier to debug and maintain, right? So when you have something wrong with a function, you can just fix the function, right? But if the code is out of the function, you need to check every single line to make sure if entire code is correct or not. So make the process as function-based as much as possible is always easier way to debug and maintain. And it's much more readable. I will tell you why it's much more readable. Let me go back to this example. And let's say we have a print hello, and we have print goodbye. And those are basically what we want to run. In this case, this is pretty simple way. So probably this doesn't work. A equals 4 plus 5, 4 plus 6. Sorry, I keep enter with the shift. B equals A plus 7 and print B. Seeing just this 4 line already is pretty complex to understand how this process goes on. However, if you make it as function, it becomes like this. Say hello and print hello and define another function called calculator, and which this we will see it, what these parameters mean later. And then now we call, say hello, and then we call calculator with 4 and 6. Now these two code, all you need to worry when you see the entire main code, all you need to worry is just these 2 lines of code, which is much cleaner than these 4 lines. In this case, you can't understand when the line, when you have like 10,000 lines, it's really difficult to understand how the process goes on. But if it becomes function and function, it's much cleaner to understand the process. That's what we say is much more readable. We already learned how to define the function, but let's see one by one. The first define starts the definition. So we definitely need DEF. If we don't have DEF, Python will understand that you want to call the function rather than define the function. We must have DEF and the space always, and then name of the function. As I said, you can create whatever the name you like, and then parentheses and a comma. Colon, and parentheses. There's no parameters in the parentheses, but you can actually have something like this. But we will learn it after later, probably in the next page. And then we have actual code inside of the function, which has indentation, right? Usually we use tab to make the indentation. That's some kind of convention. You can use space, but usually we use tab. So that's a convention which it's better to follow. So the main code is in the function. So once you have the function, you can run it, right? Next, we have a function with parameters. It's basically this. Here, if you see this, I have X and Y as parameters, right? What those parameters mean? You can send different value to the function so that the function use the value in the process to return it to the main code. In this case, parameter is called name. So this parameter is basically a variable, and what you send here is Alice. So when you call function greet with Alice, you send Alice to name, and then it will print out hello with name, which is Alice. If you send Bob, you will get hello Bob, right? On your collab, let's try to run these 4 lines of very simple function together. I will do it here. So if you have it,
Daniel, is it okay to zoom?
oh, thank you so much. I always forget it. Is it better?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So many thumbs up. We are going to make a function with parameter name. You can have multiple parameters, but we are going to have just one at the moment. I keep enter with shift. Sorry. And we want to say hello to the person name. Again, nothing happens. But now you can call this grid with any name you like. Let's say, if you run it, you will have hello Sangyeon. We can have something different. Hello Amy. In this case, you will get hello Amy if you send Amy. So what it does, what we did just before was we send Sangyeon as a parameter to the variable name, and then this function uses name, the variable, to print out the entire sentence. Are we good so far? So, and if we just print out and returns nothing, what is the use of this function, right? The key reason that we use the function is because there are values, or there is a value that we want to receive after all the calculation. So this is how it goes. One big difference is we have a return. When we have return in the function, this literally returns the value to the variable you set. Okay. I'm sorry, but who is this anonymous platypus? Can you move your cursor a little? This blue. Thank you so much. So here is we basically the same. We define a function called square with x, so it gets the value x, and it returns x multiplied with x. The other way we can do, there is other ways that we can do, but we are going to do it here. We are going to define the function called square, and that receives variable x or parameter x, and then either return x multiplied with x, and then we will call square 5. However, in this case, what we want to do is output is square 5. If we run it, we don't have any output getting here. There is nothing displayed. But if we print out the output, we will have the value 25, right? So we call the function square, and then by calling it, we send a value 5 to x, and then it returns x multiplied by x to output. We can change this function a little. For example, we can do y is x multiplied by x, and then we can return y. The result is basically the same, exactly the same result. One interesting point I want to tell is, what if we want to access the value in the function from outside the function? What happens if we just print out, do I have y above there? Don't think so. So what if we just print y? We defined y here. However, when we print y, it says name y, variable name y is not defined. What about x? It's the same. We have x in the function, but it says there is an error that x is not defined. The reason is because we have two different types of variable. One is global variable, another is local variable. So when we use variables in the function, it is called the local variable. The variable is defined only in the function. So if you want to access the variable outside of the function, you can't access it, right? Because you are accessing the value from global environment. So in this case, output is global variable. So you can access the value output from global environment. But the other way, what if I want to just access to the value in value global value from in the function from the function? That's possible. You can access global value from anywhere, but you can't access the local value from the global. So main code. That's I'm pretty sure I can guarantee you that if you do the modeling, that's one thing which will become a big pain later. But all you need to remember is you only can access the value that is returned from the function, right? So this is what we just did. So we don't need to do it. However, we are going to do this. This can be still tricky. We are going to receive two parameters, and then we will send back the result, two different results to the line to the code where we call the function. I'm going to show you how to do it, but please do it on your own as well. We will make a function called calculator. And then this function will receive x and y. And then we will have a, or let's say add, is x plus y, and sub is x minus y. I don't like this AI system. It's just doing what I need to do. And we will return two different values, add and sub. And then if we run it, if we send value 5 and 7, and then we will get output, we will get it, we will save it to A and B. If we print A and B, we get the result. So we'll tell you I will tell you the process. We know how to define the function, right? But in this case, we have two parameters. By calling calculator using two different parameters, 5 and 7, each goes to each variable. For example, in this case, 5 goes to x, 7 goes to y. And then when you get the return, add, return to A, and sub returns to B, right? But if you want to change it, actually, if you want to make it clear, you can just literally clearly say it, x is 5 and y is 7, and you can send it to the function, and you get basically the same result. So we just made a very simple simple function with multiple returns. We are going to do a very short workshop that you need to make basically the same function, but not with multiplication, not with sum and minus, but you need to make one with multiplication and another with division. Is that right? Divide.
Yeah, divisions, right?
Divisions, right? So please do it on your own. I will give you just 1 minute because you already have the answer, almost exactly the same answer. Then let's do it together. And if you have done it, please thumbs up. Three. Uni, can you check with Rebecca?
Rebecca?
Oh, sorry, I already have the access to the file.
Cool.
Great.
Sorry, I missed that.
No more people, just 3 people. We are missing the other 20. Okay, hope you guys all done. We are going to do it together. We have depth calculator, and we are going to receive x and y. But in this case, not the add and sub, but we are going to make multiplication x and y, and then divisions x divided by y, and return multiplication and divisions, and then we can get a b calculator 5 and 8 7 again, and we want to print a. We got a value of 35. But what I want to show you, one interesting point is you can actually define the default value like this. We have 25. In this case, if you don't send any value to y, then it assumes y the function will use the default value 5 for y. Right? If you want to change the value, you can send like something like y is 7. Then you will get different result. So you always can set the default value. This is something sometimes it's very important because you don't always want to send the same value again and again whenever you call the function. Sometimes you can just set the default values and then you can get the result. But in this case, division by 0 is not allowed. So of course you will get the error. But this one, for example, you won't get any error and then you will get the result. And there was a question from Emmy, is there an alternative to this line? We have to include this in the code. So a and b equals calculator and x equals 5 and y equals 8. Yes, you always need to include it. Otherwise, you can't call it. That's the process how you call the function.